We all rely on farmers and ranchers, but farming is riskier than other businesses out there. Crop insurance helps farmers manage their risk. With crop insurance, farmers put skin in the game by paying premiums and shouldering deductibles. That keeps taxpayers from having to pick up the whole bill every time disaster strikes. Today, about 90% of U.S. farmland is insured, providing $100 billion in protection to more than 130 different kinds of crops. It's a testament to the program's success.
Thank you for joining us for our Agri-Pulse Washington Week in Review. I'm Spencer Chase, joined as always by Agri-Pulse Senior Editor Phil Brasher, discussing the week that was, agriculturally speaking, in Washington, D.C. And we're outside again. There continues to be a flurry of activity on Capitol Hill. A lot of things going on, including a lot of things in foreign policy this week. It wasn't just the general craziness of Washington that has fringe impacts on agricultural policy. There's a lot of things that are going to have direct impact, including arguably the biggest news of the week in foreign policy circles. On Monday, the administration announced the finalization of talks to update the North American Free Trade Agreement. There were rumors of it on Sunday night. There was a joint statement issued by the two negotiators, but on Monday, President Trump went out to the Rose Garden of the White House, officially announced completion of the agreement. And Phil, early returns on this from agricultural policy circles, they appear to like what they see.
Yeah, huge news. Just because they did it. I remember we were last Friday out here talking about this. There was no word at all of any deal imminent with Canada. We were expecting to get the text of a deal with Mexico, and Canada excluded. And then, of course, as you mentioned, close to midnight, actually it was 11 p.m. Washington when they did a briefing for the media on the deal with Canada. The returns on from both farm groups and from here on Capitol Hill have been, I would say, a lot of relief, and I think a lot of people pleased that they were able to get what they did on, particularly on wheat and dairy and on poultry. Those are things that the Obama administration had talked about in the context of TPP and wasn't able to do, and then the president did. And I think the other thing I heard was, this may give the president a little more breathing room as far as China and the trade war that he's got going with them, which is obviously having the biggest impact on agriculture right now.
Mm-hmm. And Agri-Pulse's Bill Thompson has been covering this story ad nauseum. He has a number of articles up on the website. I encourage you to give those a read. But main thing to consider from here on out is that the agreement, the negotiations are finalized, but the new agreement is by no means in place. It still needs to be finalized by Congress, either in this lame duck session or potentially by a new Congress, whatever that looks like after the November midterms.
Yeah. Looks most likely like it's going to be in 2019. I mean, it's theoretically possible. Could do it in the lame duck, but I think definitely the word seems to be on the Hill that this is likely to go into next year. It's very difficult to do anything in a lame duck anyway.
Yeah, it is very difficult to do anything in a lame duck, but negotiators tell us they're going to try and do a farm bill in a lame duck. As you may have seen on agripulse.com, they emerged literally arm in arm on the subject. They locked arms, posed for pictures with reporters, and said that the substance of that image was that they are committed, they say, to producing a new farm bill during the lame duck session. Phil, there were times when folks didn't think a 2018 farm bill was a realistic option, and now the negotiators are still saying that that's their plans at this point.
Yeah, it's still tough. It's still tough. The backdrop of that photo was, of course, this time again last week, there was some blame being put on the Senate in particular for the fact that the 2014 Farm Bill was about to expire and did expire last Sunday. Democrats weren't, the senators weren't taking that. But there were a handful of us, reporters, outside the meeting room where they were meeting over there in the Capitol basement on Thursday morning, and Senate Chairman Roberts and the ranking member on the committee, Debbie Stabenow, had both gone into the meeting later. They knew we were there, and they normally leave separately. Certainly, House Agriculture Chairman Mike Conaway usually leaves first, and then the ranking Democrat Colin Peterson, and then the Senate negotiators will come out. This time, they came out and, as you say, linked arms. You can see the picture on our website if you haven't already, to make this show of unity. Now, whether they can actually produce an agreement that can be voted on in Congress is, we'll still see. There was a little bit of sign of progress, though.
Still a number of titles to be worked out, but they did say walking out of that meeting that they were all but finalized with a couple of titles, three to be exact, including the energy title, which is a bit of a surprise because the House Farm Bill didn't have an energy title.
That's right. That was a big deal, and that was a sign that they are making some headway. And the reason that is because, as you said, the House bill did not have an energy title, and actually proposed to eliminate most of those programs. The Senate bill funded them with about $400 million in mandatory funding for the entirety of the coming Farm Bill, and actually over 10 years. And so we don't know the details of what they agreed to, but the fact that they were able to agree on continuing those programs and funding those programs indicates that was a big hurdle, not insignificant, but there's still a lot to do.
Still a lot to do, still a number of big hurdles to clear, be it Title I, be it SNAP, nutrition, a number of things to follow as the Farm Bill debate continues to unfold. Be sure to follow Agri-Pulse.com for your updates on that. I want to close this week with the big news in Washington more broadly and how that might potentially impact foreign policy circles. That, of course, being the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to serve on the Supreme Court. Earlier today, we're recording this early Friday afternoon, a cloture vote was taken to move forward with that nomination. That vote was cleared 51-49, a very narrow margin there, and now that clears the way for 30 hours of debate and then a vote. And so we expect that cloture to ripen Saturday afternoon, early Saturday evening, late Saturday afternoon, when the Senate will actually vote on the nomination. And Phil, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of reporting done on a lot of different aspects of this nomination, but should Judge Kavanaugh become Justice Kavanaugh, we're looking at a 5-4 majority, a conservative majority, right, on the United States Supreme Court, something that could be a good thing for a number of agricultural groups looking to bring challenges to some environmental regulations.
It is, and on a number of issues, and we talked about this before, but it's important to reiterate again. There's so many environmental issues. Actually, it was an Endangered Species Act case that was before the court this last week, earlier this week, which was the beginning of the term. One of the cases that's going to be very well worth watching, and that's the waters of the U.S. Issue. The Obama administration wrote that WOTUS rule that we've talked about so much with Anthony Kennedy, who was the swing vote on the court, in mind, trying to get him as the fifth vote. He's now retired. If Brett Kavanaugh is confirmed on Saturday, he will be the fifth vote, and that could vary if the waters of the U.S. case comes back to the court, and it's been there before on at least a couple of occasions, then we could see a different result. So this is setting aside everything else that's gone on in this confirmation process. We could see a significantly different Supreme Court starting next week.
So that's kind of a long-term thing to watch here, but we do expect that vote to happen here late Saturday afternoon. But with all of the various other forms of legislative and regulatory craziness that's going on, I think that's going to do it for what we're going to talk to you about this week. Be sure to follow Agri-Pulse.com as well as our various social media channels for news and updates on all of the other various things to come. Still a lot of developments we expect to happen here in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, and next couple of months as we move into the midterm season and then into the lame duck session. But I think that's going to do it for this week. So for Phil Brasher, I'm Spencer Chase. Have a good one.